mindset. I am so excited to talk about this topic because I think it just has such a profound impact, and you can just learn so much when you start diving into some of these beliefs that we have about ourselves. And I hope you will truly see how much this really does matter, and more than you may initially think here as we get into it this week and beyond. I'm going to be talking about a book that I read called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and I was introduced to this book as a teacher. I was actually given it by my school district, and I remember it having such an impact on me back then. Like all of a sudden, lights were going off, and I was reading these ideas that Carol develops throughout her book, and I was just amazed at the things that I was thinking about myself and the beliefs that I held, and truly how these beliefs were absolutely affecting how I led my life. And so you can see that quote there by her where it says, the beliefs you hold about yourself are foundational to the life that you're leading. And now reading this book for the second and third time, just even that idea just even resonates more with me, because I absolutely believe that. I think that so many times we want to just change our behavior. Well, if I just change my behavior, but we don't dig deep into the reasons that we are behaving that way or we're doing those things. And so I really believe in her work that she does with children, and we'll get into that, and what the message she also has for adults in that way too. So let's get into it. So she talks about two basic mindsets throughout her book, and that's a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And one foundational principle here is that in a fixed mindset, you believe your qualities are pretty much carved in stone. Your intelligence, how smart you are, your personality, really your moral character. It is what it is. You are who you are. I mean, yes, you can get different jobs and go to school and try different careers and different experiences, but you really are who you are. Whereas in a growth mindset, there's absolutely this idea that you can grow, you can change. And that growth comes with effort and hard work. And that's the essence of being who you want to be. Like, you have that choice. And so we've kind of talked a little bit about that before, reactive versus proactive, and you're going to be seeing elements of that in here. But keep this basic foundation in mind when it comes to these two mindsets, and they'll be explained here a little bit more. So let's look at a fixed mindset. So if you believe that your qualities are carved in stone, you have little control over them, think about how that affects your behavior. You're going to be on having a constant need to prove yourself again and again and again to people. You need to tell them how great you are. You need to tell them you're the best. You need to tell them how you succeeded. You need to tell them what you're doing well. You're constantly seeking validation from the outside world. Constantly. And you want people to tell you you are the best. Oh, wow, you're really good. Oh, wow. I can't believe you did that. You're seeking that validation because you believe you have little control over it. And so you have to prove yourself because there's nothing you can do about that change. And so you need to make sure everyone sees that you're great, right? And that you've got it all together. And what even goes along with that is you'll see then, and also to prove how wonderful you are, what do we often do to others? Prove how great they're not, right? We're stacking ourselves up against others and saying, well, they did this, and this just proves they're not as good as me in this. Well, they've been doing this. And I think, you might be thinking, well, this is, sounds like an inflated ego to you, but think about just the little ways we do this in our life. I know I do. I absolutely do. And so we've got to be careful of that and really think about what's behind that. Why do we have to constantly prove and tell our stories and tell how great we are and seek that validation from the outside world? When we feel like we don't have that control and, our growth is not in our hands and who we are is not in our hands, think about what happens when we fail, when our weaknesses are revealed. It's it defines us. Like, I am a failure. If I failed, I am a failure. And when we feel this and we're so focused on the outcome and not really the journey, the hard work along the way, if we're only focused on the outcome of having to be the best or proving myself or making that goal 100%, then we think any type of effort or time that we put into something was all of a sudden wasted. And we hear people say this all the time, like, oh, I just knew that was going to happen. Why did I even try? Or, oh, I'm not surprised that didn't work out because of this, right? It becomes more about the end goal than it really does about the journey. And pretty soon we don't seek challenges. Pretty soon we don't put ourselves in situations where we may look weak, where we may not have the answers. We want to create this perfect world. A job where we're not failing, a job where somebody's not telling us we need to improve, a job we're not being challenged at. Think about the hobbies in your life where you stretch yourself or where you stay safe. In your home life, the expectations that you put on yourself that you need to be this or you need to be that, or all of a sudden you're a failure. You have to look perfect. And so this is how you create your life so that it's always going to be that way. And in relationships, with your significant other, we've talked about that before, that there's this idea that I am who I am. And if you bring something up to me, if you say I've hurt you in some way, or that this is something that I need to change to make our relationship work, this is all of a sudden a chip to my character, because this isn't something I can change. This is who I am. And you're telling me I'm not enough. So see how that does that, or even the friendships that we choose. Are we choosing friendships where they're pushing us to grow and be better? Or are we choosing safe relationships where they're constantly telling us, you're great, you got all the answers, you're the best? Now, if you look at a growth mindset, and really in all those areas, how you really shift in your thinking, where you understand that, we're born with gifts for sure. There's things I think a lot of people, like, they have purposes, and there are things that are just their strengths versus their weakness, but they realize that in general, things take time and effort. They do. Even the people that are born with these gifts, these successful people that we see in our society, some of us may look at them and think, oh, well, it's just because they were born to do that. It doesn't take much effort for them. They're just really good at it. I don't think we realize that this was an interest or a passion. This was maybe something that, yep, that was a strength for them, but it does take time. It does take effort. And we don't see all the sweat and the tears and the heartache. We don't see that. We see when they get out on the stage, right? We see when they get the gold medal. We see when their business takes off, but we don't see everything up to that. And a growth mindset says, yeah, failure stinks. Like, I hate it too, but it doesn't define me. It's hard, but it's not who I am. And I may not reach that final goal. I may not be the best in my industry. I may not be number one mom or number one whatever salesman of the year, but I'll tell you what, I've worked hard and I've grown a lot along the way. I can absolutely look back and say I'm better today than I was yesterday. So they welcome opportunities. They want to learn. They want to grow. They seek relationships and seek relationships and opportunities that challenge them, right? To make them a better person. And that feedback, that honest feedback, is essential for growth. And they see it as that. They don't see it as a chip to their character or somebody telling them they're not good enough. And so I love these last two slides. It talks about the fear of the fixed mindset versus the fear of the growth mindset. The biggest fear of the fixed mindset is that they'll try and they'll still fail. Effort is a key thing that just really terrifies the fixed mindset, because, if you're a great businessman, if you're a great teacher, if you're a great mom, if you're a great spouse, if you're a great whatever it is, then you shouldn't need a lot of effort, right? And I think a lot of us, I don't think want to admit that we kind of think this, maybe not in one area of our life, but maybe in another. Like, this shouldn't be so hard. I shouldn't need effort. And the other, biggest fear is that I couldn't say otherwise. So if I don't try, then I can say, well, I could have been. I could have done that. So if I don't try, then it's easier for me to say that, right? And then here's the growth mindset. You can look back and say, I could have been, and polish all your unused endowments like trophies. Or you can look back and you can say, I gave my all for the things that I valued and the person that I was meant to be. Billie Jean King, I love that. So we're going to keep diving deeper into mindsets, and we're going to be talking a lot about not only how we see ourselves, but then how we see our world because of that, and just learning so much together. So please join me again here on Thursday as we dive deeper into those mindsets. See you soon.